A Stoic's Guide to Making Tough Decisions Under Pressure. Introduction. The pressure cooker of modern life. We live in an age of relentless pressure. Decisions, big and small, confront us daily, often arriving faster and with higher stakes than ever before. From critical career moves and complex financial choices to navigating intricate personal relationships and unexpected crises, the modern world demands constant judgment. Yet it's precisely when clarity is most needed that pressure often descends like a fog, clouding our thinking. Fear whispers worst-case scenarios, anxiety paralyzes analysis, and the sheer weight of responsibility can feel overwhelming, leading to choices we later regret. How can we navigate this high-pressure landscape not just effectively, but wisely? How do we make choices that align with our values, even when faced with uncertainty and stress? The answer, perhaps surprisingly, lies in the ancient philosophy practiced by emperors, playwrights, and slaves alike, Stoicism. Often misunderstood as a path of emotionless suppression, Stoicism is, in fact, a profound and practical system for cultivating rational resilience. It doesn't seek to eliminate feelings, but to understand their origins and prevent them from hijacking our reason. It teaches us to differentiate between what we can control, our thoughts, judgments, and actions, and what we cannot, external events, the actions of others, outcomes, focusing our energy where it truly matters. It provides a moral compass rooted in the virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance to guide us through ethical dilemmas. This book is your practical guide to applying these timeless Stoic principles to the crucible of modern decision-making. It won't offer easy answers or eliminate the inherent difficulty of tough choices. Instead, it will equip you with a robust mental framework, an inner citadel, to face pressure with clarity, courage, and calm. You will learn specific techniques drawn directly from the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, adapted for today's challenges. By the end, you'll have a toolkit for analyzing situations objectively, consulting your inner values, acting decisively, and accepting outcomes with equanimity, enabling you to make sound, virtuous decisions even when the heat is on. Welcome to a more resilient, rational, and deliberate way of choosing your path. Chapter 1. Control the controllables, the dichotomy of control. Imagine standing at a crossroads, faced with a monumental decision. Perhaps it's a critical project deadline under immense pressure, a sudden health scare demanding immediate choices, or a relationship reaching a breaking point. The weight of the situation bears down, anxiety mounts, and your mind races, grappling with 1,000 what-ifs. This feeling of being overwhelmed often stems from a fundamental misunderstanding, one the Stoics sought to correct over 2 millennia ago. It's the failure to clearly distinguish between what is truly within our power and what lies beyond it. Enter Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. His teachings, captured by his student Arrian in the Discourses and the Enchiridion, or Handbook, begin with a powerful and deceptively simple observation. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Up to us are opinion, impulse, desire, aversion, in a word, whatever is our own action. Not up to us are body, property, reputation, office, in a word, whatever is not our own action. This is the cornerstone of Stoic practice. The dichotomy of control. It's the radical idea that our peace of mind and our ability to act virtuously depend entirely on focusing our energy on the first category, our inner world of judgments, intentions, and responses, and accepting the second category, external events and outcomes, with equanimity. Why is this so crucial for decision-making under pressure? When faced with a tough choice, our stress often skyrockets because we fixate on the outcomes, which are inherently uncertain and influenced by countless factors beyond our direct influence. Will the project succeed? Will the treatment work? Will the other person react positively? Will I get the promotion? These are natural questions, but dwelling on them is like trying to command the wind and the waves. It's futile and exhausting. The Stoic approach redirects our focus inward. Instead of agonizing over the result of the decision, we concentrate on the process of making the best possible decision, given the circumstances and our values. Our judgments. Are we viewing the situation objectively or through the lens of fear, anger, or wishful thinking? Our impulses. Are we reacting automatically or pausing to consider a rational response? Our desires and aversions. Are we seeking what is truly good, virtue, sound judgment, and avoiding what is truly bad, vice, poor judgment? Or are we chasing external preferences, wealth, status, comfort, and fearing external indifference, loss, criticism, discomfort? Our actions? Are we choosing to act in accordance with reason and our principles? By focusing solely on these internal elements, the things genuinely up to us, we reclaim our agency. The pressure shifts from controlling the uncontrollable external world to mastering our internal one. We can't guarantee success, health, or harmony, but we can guarantee that we will make the most rational, principled, and courageous choice available to us. This doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent to outcomes. We still strive for positive results, but we recognize that our effort and our intention are what truly matter, as they are the only things entirely within our sphere of control. The archer aims carefully and releases the arrow with skill. What's up to her? But whether a sudden gust of wind carries the arrow off course is not. Her excellence lies in the aiming and releasing, not solely in hitting the bullseye. Applying this dichotomy allows us to approach high-pressure decisions with newfound clarity and calm. We stop wasting precious mental energy on anxieties about things we can't influence and channel it instead into making the soundest, most virtuous choice possible. The goal becomes not necessarily to achieve a specific external outcome, but to act rightly regardless of what follows. Exercise. Mapping your control. Think back to a recent tough decision you had to make under pressure. Describe the situation. Briefly outline the decision and the pressures involved. Identify the not up to us pile. List all the elements related to that situation that were ultimately outside your direct control. Examples might include other people's reactions or decisions, market fluctuations, unexpected events or accidents. The final outcome, for example, getting the job, project success, your reputation in the eyes of others, past events. Identify the up to us pile. List all the elements that were genuinely within your control. Examples might include how thoroughly you researched options, whether you sought advice, the principles you chose to prioritize, how you managed your emotional reactions, fear, anxiety, the specific actions you decided to take, your willingness to learn from the outcome, whether you communicated clearly and honestly. Reflect. Where did you spend most of your mental and emotional energy during that time? Was it focused more on the not up to us pile or the up to us pile? How might consciously focusing only on the up to us elements have changed your experience of making that decision? Mastering the dichotomy of control is the first step in building your inner citadel. It's the foundation upon which all other Stoic decision-making tools rest. By consistently practicing this distinction, you begin to untangle yourself from the anxiety of the uncontrollable and root yourself firmly in the power of your own reasoned choice. Chapter 2. Reason as your guiding star. Having grasped the fundamental importance of focusing on what's within our control, our judgments, impulses, desires, and aversions, the next crucial question arises. How do we navigate these internal elements effectively, especially when pressure mounts? The Stoics offered a clear answer: reason. For philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, reason, or logos in Greek, wasn't just the capacity for logical deduction. It was the divine spark within humanity, our unique faculty that allows us to understand the nature of the universe and our place within it. It's our innate ability to think clearly, analyze objectively, and make sound judgments. In the context of decision-making, reason is the indispensable compass that helps us chart a course through the turbulent waters of uncertainty and stress. When faced with a difficult choice under pressure, our initial reactions are often driven by instinct or emotion. Fear might scream danger, anger might demand retribution, and desire might grasp for immediate relief. The Stoics referred to these powerful, often misleading emotional reactions as passions, viewing them not as inherent parts of human nature to be blindly followed, but as products of faulty judgments, errors in reasoning about what is truly good or bad. Consider a sudden harsh criticism from a superior at work. The immediate impression might be one of personal attack, leading to feelings of defensiveness, anger, or self-doubt. An unthinking, emotional reaction might be to lash out, withdraw sullenly, or spiral into anxiety. Reason, however, prompts a different response. It encourages us to pause and examine the initial impression. Is this criticism objectively true? Can I separate the factual content from the emotional delivery? What part of this is within my control? I cannot control my superior's opinion or tone, but I can control my interpretation and response. What is the rational course of action? Perhaps it's to calmly ask for specific examples, reflect on whether the feedback has merit, learn from any valid points, and discard the rest without letting it disrupt my inner peace. Reason acts as a filter, allowing us to analyze situations without the distortion of unchecked emotion. It enables us to step back from the heat of the moment and ask critical questions. What are the facts here? What are my assumptions? What are the potential consequences of different actions, viewed logically rather than emotionally? What aligns with my core principles, which we'll explore further? Techniques for engaging reason under pressure. Objective representation. Describe the situation to yourself in the most neutral, factual terms possible, as if you were an unbiased observer. Strip away dramatic language and subjective interpretations. Instead of, my boss unfairly attacked me in front of everyone, try, during the meeting, my boss stated dissatisfaction with X aspect of the project. This creates distance and allows for clearer analysis. Question your impressions. When a strong feeling arises in response to an event, interrogate it. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this emotion based on a true assessment of the situation or on a potentially flawed judgment? As Epictetus advised, treat your initial impressions as potentially untrustworthy messengers that need to be examined before being accepted. Logical analysis. Consciously engage your analytical mind. Break the decision down into smaller parts. List the pros and cons of potential actions, focusing on logical consequences rather than emotional preferences. The view from above. Marcus Aurelius often practiced visualizing situations from a cosmic perspective, imagining himself looking down on events from a great height. This technique helps diminish the perceived magnitude of immediate problems and puts them in a broader context, reducing emotional reactivity and promoting rational thought. Engaging reason isn't about becoming cold or robotic. It's about ensuring that our decisions are guided by clarity rather than chaos. Emotions provide valuable information, but reason must be the judge that evaluates that information and directs our actions. By cultivating our rational faculty, we equip ourselves with a reliable guide that remains steady even when external circumstances are stormy, allowing us to make decisions that are not just reactive, but considered, coherent, and wise. This rational faculty is the guiding star for navigating the territory we identified in Chapter 1, the realm of what is truly up to us. Chapter 3, Virtue is the Only Good. We've established the importance of focusing on our internal world, Chapter 1, and using reason as our guide, Chapter 2. But reason alone doesn't tell us what to aim for. What constitutes a good decision beyond mere logical coherence? For the Stoics, the answer was unequivocal: virtue. In Stoicism, virtue isn't just a pleasant character trait. It is the sole good. Everything else, health, wealth, reputation, even life itself, falls into the category of indifference. This doesn't mean these things have no value. They are often preferred indifference, things we naturally choose if given the option. However, they are not intrinsically good or bad in themselves. Their value depends entirely on how we use them, and whether we use them virtuously. Wealth used justly to benefit others is good. Wealth used greedily is bad. Health used to fulfill our duties is good. Health used for debauchery is bad. The goodness resides not in the external thing, but in the virtuous character wielding it. Why this radical stance? Because virtue, unlike external factors, is entirely within our control, tying back to Chapter 1, and is guided by reason, Chapter 2. It's the excellence of our own character, the perfection of our rational nature. Pursuing virtue is the direct path to eudaimonia, a Greek term often translated as happiness or flourishing, but more accurately meaning living in accordance with our true nature as rational social beings. It's a state of inner peace, resilience, and fulfillment that is immune to the whims of fortune. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues that encompass this excellence: wisdom, Sophia prudence, the ability to discern what is truly good, bad, and indifferent. It involves understanding complex situations, anticipating consequences within reason, and making sound judgments. It's the knowledge of how to live well, applied practically. In decision-making, wisdom allows us to see situations clearly, understand what truly matters, and choose the appropriate course based on rational analysis, not fleeting desires or fears. Justice, dikaiosyn. This virtue concerns our interactions with others. It involves fairness, kindness, honesty, and treating others with respect, recognizing our shared humanity and interconnectedness, oikeiosis, which we'll explore later. When making decisions, justice demands we consider the impact on others, act equitably, and fulfill our duties to our communities and fellow humans. It prevents us from making choices that are merely self-serving at the expense of fairness. Courage, Andrea, fortitude. Not just physical bravery, but moral courage. It's the ability to face difficulty, pain, danger, or unpopularity in pursuit of what is right. It involves enduring hardship with resilience and acting on our convictions, even when it's frightening or uncomfortable. In decision-making under pressure, courage enables us to choose the principled path over the easy one, to speak truth to power, and to act despite fear of negative consequences, like criticism or failure. Temperance suffers in moderation. This is the virtue of self-control, discipline, and balance. It involves mastering our desires and appetites, avoiding excess, and maintaining equilibrium. Temperance prevents us from being swayed by cravings for pleasure, status, or comfort, or by aversion to discomfort. When making decisions, it helps us resist impulsive choices, maintain objectivity, and act with measure rather than recklessness. These four virtues are interconnected and work together. A decision cannot be truly wise if it is unjust, nor truly courageous if it is intemperate. They form a unified whole, representing the ideal state of a rational mind. Therefore, when facing a tough decision under pressure, the ultimate Stoic question isn't, what will make me happiest, or what will lead to the best outcome, but rather, what is the virtuous thing to do? Which option best reflects wisdom? Which aligns with justice? Which requires courage? Which demonstrates temperance? By prioritizing virtue, our character, above all external outcomes, we anchor our decision-making process in something stable and entirely within our control. External circumstances may buffet us, pressure may mount, and outcomes may disappoint. But if we have chosen and acted virtuously, guided by reason, we have succeeded in the only way that truly matters according to Stoicism. We have acted in accordance with our nature and maintained our inner integrity, which is the true source of lasting peace and resilience. Chapter 4. Taming the passions, managing destructive emotions. We've identified our sphere of control, Chapter 1, embraced reason as our guide, Chapter 2, and set virtue as our ultimate goal, Chapter 3. Yet even with these tools, a powerful force can derail our best intentions, especially under pressure: unchecked emotion. The Stoics had a specific term for disruptive emotions like excessive fear, anger, craving, or grief. Pada often translated as passions. Crucially, they didn't see these passions as inevitable forces to be surrendered to, but as the direct result of errors in judgment, mistaken beliefs about what is truly good or bad. Think about the panic that can seize you before a high-stakes presentation. According to Stoicism, this intense fear isn't caused directly by the presentation itself, an external event and indifferent, but by your judgment about it. You might erroneously believe that failure would be catastrophic, judging an indifferent as truly bad, that your self-worth depends entirely on the audience's approval, judging reputation and indifferent as truly good, or that you are incapable of handling potential difficulties, a judgment about your own capabilities. These faulty judgments fuel the destructive emotion of panic, which then clouds your reason and hinders your ability to prepare and perform effectively. Similarly, intense anger often arises from the judgment that you have been wronged or treated unjustly, coupled with the belief that the perceived slight is a significant evil. Overwhelming desire stems from judging an external thing, like wealth, pleasure, or status, as essential for your happiness. The Stoic goal isn't to eliminate emotions altogether. They acknowledge natural, appropriate feelings, eupatheiae, like joy in virtuous action, or caution in genuinely dangerous situations. Instead, the aim is to tame the passions, to prevent these disruptive, judgment-based emotions from overwhelming our rational faculty and dictating our decisions. When passions run high, reason takes a back seat. We become reactive, impulsive, and prone to choices driven by fear, anger, or greed, rather than wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. How, then, do we manage these potentially destructive forces, particularly when pressure cooker situations amplify them? The Stoics develop practical psychological exercises. Premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. This involves consciously contemplating potential setbacks, difficulties, or losses before they happen. It sounds morbid, but its purpose is preventative. By mentally rehearsing adversity, imagining losing a job, facing criticism, dealing with project failure, we rob these events of their shock value if they occur. We lessen the grip of fear and anxiety by acknowledging that such things can happen and considering how we might cope virtuously. It prepares our minds, making us less likely to be emotionally overwhelmed if challenges arise during or after a decision. Seneca advised, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." The view from above. As mentioned briefly in Chapter 2, this technique involves mentally zooming out from your immediate situation. Imagine looking down on yourself, your city, your country, the earth, even the cosmos. Marcus Aurelius frequently used this to gain perspective. Seeing your stressful decision within the vastness of space and time helps diminish its perceived importance and lessens the emotional charge attached to it. It fosters objectivity and reminds us of the bigger picture, preventing us from getting lost in the weeds of immediate anxiety or frustration. Cognitive distancing, separating judgment from event. This practice involves consciously separating the external event from your initial judgment about it. When something stressful happens, pause and remind yourself, this event itself is not disturbing me, but my judgment about it is. This creates mental space to examine and potentially correct the judgment before the passion takes hold. Epictetus put it starkly. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Recognizing your emotional triggers is key. During the decision-making process, pay attention to physical sensations, tight chest, racing heart, or mental patterns, catastrophizing, blaming, that signal a passion is brewing. When you notice these signs, consciously deploy these Stoic techniques. Pause. Analyze the underlying judgment. Is it rational? Is it based on virtue or on a mistaken view of externals? By actively working to understand and manage these powerful emotional responses through rational analysis and perspective shifts, we protect our inner citadel. We ensure that our decisions, even under extreme pressure, are guided by the clear light of reason and aimed squarely at virtue, rather than being dictated by the turbulent storms of passion. This emotional regulation is not suppression, but a reasoned transformation of potentially harmful impulses into fuel for resilient and wise action. Chapter 5. Step 1. Pause and perceive objectively. Having laid the groundwork, understanding control, embracing reason, valuing virtue, and taming passions, we now move into the practical application, a step-by-step Stoic framework for navigating tough decisions under pressure. The very first, and arguably most critical step, is deceptively simple, yet profoundly powerful. Pause. When confronted with a high-stakes situation or a sudden demand for a decision, our instinct is often to react immediately. Pressure creates urgency, and urgency often bypasses rational thought, triggering ingrained habits or emotional responses. Think of it like a reflex arc. Stimulus hits, knee jerks. But as Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor deeply influenced by Stoicism, reportedly said, though the exact quote is debated, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The Stoic practice begins by consciously creating and inhabiting that space. Before you analyze, before you judge, before you act, pause. Take a breath. Resist the urge to jump to conclusions or immediate action. This pause isn't procrastination. It's the deliberate creation of an opportunity for reason to engage. It's the moment you step back from the raw event and prepare to observe it clearly. Once you have created this space, the next task is to perceive objectively. The Stoics sought what they called fantasia kataleptike, an objective representation or accurate impression of reality, untainted by subjective judgments, assumptions, or emotional coloring. It's about seeing things as they are, not as we fear them to be, wish them to be, or assume them to be based on past experiences. Consider receiving unexpected negative feedback. Raw event. Your manager points out 3 specific errors in your report. Subjective emotional interpretation. Non-Stoic. My boss hates me. I'm going to get fired. I'm useless at this job. This is a disaster. Objective perception. Stoic approach. 3 errors were identified in the report I submitted. These specific points were mentioned. List them. Notice the difference. The objective perception sticks strictly to the facts, stripping away the layers of interpretation, catastrophizing, and value judgments. Hates me, useless, a disaster. It describes the what without adding a subjective why or what it means. Why is this crucial under pressure? Because our initial unexamined interpretations are often where faulty judgments and destructive passions take root, as discussed in Chapter 4. By consciously striving for an objective initial perception, we prevent these errors from poisoning the decision-making process from the outset. We establish a foundation of facts upon which reason can build, rather than a foundation of fear or anger. Achieving objective perception requires effort. Stick to sensory data. What did you actually see or hear? Avoid inferring motives or predicting futures. Use neutral language. Describe the event using value-neutral words. Replace loaded terms, attacked, abandoned, miracle, with factual descriptions, criticized, left, unexpected positive event. Separate fact from opinion. Clearly distinguish what happened from your thoughts or feelings about what happened. This first step, pause and perceive objectively, is about gaining control over the very first stage of cognition, how we initially process the world around us. It clears the mental workspace, allowing us to approach the subsequent steps of the decision-making framework with greater clarity and rationality. Exercise. Factual description. Think of a recent situation that caused you stress or required a quick decision. Initial story. Write down how you initially perceived and described the situation to yourself or others, including your feelings and interpretations. For example, my colleague totally undermined me in the meeting, making me look incompetent, and now the whole project is at risk because of their ego. Objective description. Now rewrite the description, focusing only on objective facts and neutral language. What actually happened? What was actually said? Remove assumptions about motives, predictions about consequences, and emotional labels. For example, during the meeting when I presented X, my colleague raised points Y and Z. Several team members asked follow-up questions directed at my colleague regarding points Y and Z. Reflect. Compare the two descriptions. How does the objective version feel different? Does stripping away the initial interpretation change your perspective on the event even slightly? How might starting with the objective description have influenced your subsequent thoughts or actions? By mastering this initial pause in the discipline of objective perception, you lay the groundwork for making decisions rooted in reality, not in reactive emotion or distorted judgment. You create the clear space needed for Stoic reason and virtue to operate effectively. Chapter 6, Step 2. Consult your inner compass, values, and principles. You've paused. You've stripped away the subjective interpretations and perceived the situation with objective clarity. Step 1. The immediate emotional fog has lifted, and the raw facts of the decision lie before you. Now what? With the external noise quieted, it's time to turn inward and consult the most reliable guide you possess, your inner compass, calibrated by your core values and principles rooted in Stoic virtue. Just as a ship needs a compass to navigate uncertain seas, we need guiding principles to navigate complex decisions, especially under pressure. External factors, opinions of others, potential rewards, looming threats, can pull us in conflicting directions. Without a firm internal reference point, we risk being swayed by expediency, fear, or fleeting desires, leading to choices we later recognize as inconsistent with who we aspire to be. In Chapter 3, we established that for the Stoics, virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance is the only true good. These virtues aren't abstract ideals, they are the very components of our inner compass. This step involves actively consulting this compass by asking how these virtues apply to the specific decision at hand, clarifying your principles. While the four cardinal virtues provide the universal framework, it's helpful to translate them into more specific personal principles relevant to your life and the types of decisions you face. This isn't about reinventing Stoicism, but about internalizing its core tenets. Wisdom might translate to principles like seek understanding before judgment, prioritize long-term well-being over short-term fixes, learn from mistakes, distinguish facts from assumptions. Justice could become act fairly towards all involved, consider the impact on the community, team, be honest and transparent, fulfill my responsibilities diligently, speak up against unfairness. Courage may manifest as do what's right, even if it's difficult or unpopular, face challenges directly, take calculated risks for worthy goals, persevere through setbacks, be willing to be uncomfortable for growth. Temperance might translate to avoid excess, act with moderation and balance, control impulses, maintain calm under pressure. Be content with what is sufficient. Take some time, perhaps outside of immediate pressure situations, to reflect on what these virtues mean to you and articulate some guiding principles. Using the compass in decision-making. Once you have a clearer sense of your principles, you can use them as a filter or checklist when evaluating potential options revealed by your objective perception. Step 1. For each potential course of action, ask, does this align with wisdom? Is it based on a clear understanding of the situation? Is it a prudent course? Does this align with justice? Is it fair to those involved? Does it uphold my responsibilities? Is it honest? Does this align with courage? Does it require facing difficulty for the right reasons? Am I avoiding it out of fear? Does this align with temperance? Is it a measured, balanced response? Is it driven by unchecked desire or aversion? Sometimes, different virtues might seem to pull in slightly different directions. Wisdom might suggest a cautious approach, while courage might demand bold action. Justice might require confronting someone, while temperance might advise restraint. This is where reasoned judgment, Chapter 2, comes in weighing the principles and discerning the most virtuous path overall in that specific context. The goal isn't a perfect score on every virtue for every option, but to consciously evaluate choices against these fundamental benchmarks of character. This step ensures that your decisions aren't just reactions to external stimuli, but are deliberate expressions of your core values. It anchors your choices in something more profound and stable than the shifting sands of circumstance or emotion. By consulting your inner compass, you ensure that even if the outcome is not what you hoped for, remember the dichotomy of control, the decision itself was soundly rooted in the principles you hold most dear. Exercise principle. Check. Consider the situation you analyzed in the Chapter 5 exercise using your objective description. Now list 2. 3 potential actions you could have taken or did take. Evaluate each potential action against the 4 Stoic virtues. Action 1. Describe the potential action. Wisdom alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Justice. Alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Courage alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Temperance alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Action 2. Describe the potential action. Wisdom alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Justice alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Courage alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Temperance alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Action 3. Describe the potential action. Wisdom alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Justice alignment. high/medium/low/Y. Courage alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Temperance alignment. High/medium/low/Y. Reflect. Did this evaluation clarify which action felt most aligned with your core values? How does explicitly checking against these virtues change how you view the options? After pausing to perceive objectively, step 1. Consulting your inner compass, step 2, provides the essential direction, ensuring your choices reflect not just situational awareness, but deeply held principles. Chapter 7, Step 3. Analyze with logic, not fear. Having paused to perceive the situation objectively, step 1, and consulted your inner compass of value, step 2, you now have a clearer picture of the factual landscape and the ethical direction you wish to take. The next step is to rigorously analyze the potential paths forward using the tool we discussed in Chapter 2, reason. Specifically, this involves applying logic to evaluate options and potential consequences while actively guarding against the distortions of fear and other disruptive passions. Pressure situations often trigger a fight or flight response, flooding our system with stress hormones that can short-circuit higher-level thinking. Fear, in particular, is a powerful lens that warps perception. It tends to magnify potential downsides, minimize potential upsides, and drive us towards avoidance or overly defensive postures. Fear whispers anxieties about worst-case scenarios, often ignoring probabilities and focusing solely on the terrifying possibility of failure, loss, or embarrassment. Decision-making driven by fear is rarely optimal. It prioritizes immediate emotional relief over long-term wisdom or virtuous action. The Stoic approach demands that we consciously set aside fear-based thinking and engage our rational faculty. This means gathering relevant information dispassionately. Seek out the necessary facts and data required to make an informed choice. Do this methodically, without letting anxiety about what you might find prevent you from looking. Acknowledge gaps in your knowledge and seek to fill them where possible. But don't become paralyzed by the need for absolute certainty, which is often unattainable. Identifying realistic options. Based on your objective perception, step 1, and the information gathered, list the viable courses of action. Be realistic, but don't let fear prematurely rule out options that seem challenging but potentially align with your principles. Step 2. Weighing pros and cons. Logically, evaluate each option. What are the likely consequences? Crucially, apply the dichotomy of control here. Focus primarily on the consequences that stem directly from your actions within your control, rather than agonizing over ultimate outcomes outside your control. Instead of pro, might get promoted. Con might get fired. Focus on controllable aspects. Pro allows me to demonstrate leadership skills. Con requires confronting a difficult colleague. Assessing probabilities, not just possibilities. Fear often latches onto the worst possible outcome, regardless of how unlikely it is. Logical analysis requires assessing the probable outcomes. What is most likely to happen based on the available evidence and past experience? While acknowledging risks, using premeditatio malorum perhaps, don't let improbable fears dominate the analysis. Avoiding catastrophic thinking. Challenge thoughts that spiral into disaster scenarios. If X happens, will it really be the end of the world? Or is it more likely to be a setback that, while difficult, can be navigated? Remind yourself of past challenges you have overcome. Use the view from above to put the potential negative outcomes into perspective. This analytical process isn't about finding a guaranteed winning option. Remember, outcomes are not fully up to us. The goal of this logical analysis is to understand the landscape of choices and their likely implications as clearly as possible, free from the distortions of fear. It's about making an informed choice, guided by reason and aligned with virtue. When you analyze with logic, you might still feel apprehension. Courage, as discussed in Chapter 3 and 6, is needed precisely because virtuous action isn't always comfortable. But the decision itself is based on rational assessment rather than being dictated by the passion of fear. This allows you to move forward with confidence in your process, even amidst uncertainty about the results. By systematically applying reason and consciously sidelining fear during this analytical phase, you ensure that your chosen path is the product of careful consideration, not just a reaction to pressure. Chapter 8. Step 4. Consider your duties and responsibilities, oikaiosis. You have paused and perceived objectively, Step 1. Consulted your inner compass of virtue, Step 2. And analyzed the options with logic rather than fear, Step 3. The decision-making process so far has focused primarily on achieving internal clarity and rational assessment. However, Stoicism is not a philosophy of navel-gazing isolation. As rational beings, the Stoics believed, we are also inherently social beings. This brings us to the crucial fourth step. Consider your duties and responsibilities to others. The Stoics had a concept called oikeiosis, which translates roughly to affinity, appropriation, or orientation. It describes the natural, widening circles of concern that humans possess. We start with an innate affinity for ourselves, which then extends outward to our immediate family, then to friends and neighbors, fellow citizens, and ultimately to all of humanity, the global community, or cosmopolis. The Stoic goal is to draw these outer circles inward, recognizing our connection and obligation to others as extensions of ourselves. In practical decision-making, oikiosis reminds us that our choices rarely happen in a vacuum. They ripple outward, affecting those within our circles of concern. Therefore, after analyzing the logical pros and cons from a primarily individual perspective, step 3, we must consciously broaden our view. This step is a direct application of the virtue of justice, introduced in Chapter 3 and consulted in Step 2, which demands fairness, honesty, and consideration for the common good. Ask yourself, what are my roles? Am I a parent, child, spouse, friend, employee, manager, citizen? Each role carries implicit or explicit duties. Who depends on this decision? Consider the impact on your family, your team, your clients, your community. What are my obligations? Based on your roles and relationships, what responsibilities do you have towards those affected? How does each potential option align with these duties? Does one path neglect a key responsibility while another fulfills it? Does an option benefit you, but harm someone you have a duty to protect or support? This doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being entirely. Stoicism recognizes self-preservation as natural. However, it places our individual concerns within the context of the larger whole. Sometimes fulfilling our duties might require personal discomfort or sacrifice, engaging courage, but acting justly strengthens our character, which is the ultimate Stoic aim. Navigating conflicting duties. Life often presents situations where duties seem to clash. Your responsibility to your family might conflict with demands at work. Your duty as a citizen might clash with personal desires. This is where reason, Chapter 2, becomes paramount once again. There are no easy formulas, but the process involves clearly identifying the specific duties involved, evaluating the weight of each duty in the current context. For example, immediate safety versus long-term career goals. Seeking options that might allow you to fulfill multiple duties, even partially, a wise compromise. Prioritizing based on which course of action aligns most closely with overall virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, temperance, in this specific situation. Considering your duties and responsibilities adds a vital layer to the decision-making process. It ensures that your choices are not only rational and principled from your perspective, but also responsible and considerate within your social context. It elevates the decision from a purely self-interested calculation to an act within the human community, aligning your actions with the Stoic understanding of our interconnected nature. This step helps ensure that the path you choose is not just logical, but also just. Chapter 9, Step 5. Choose with courage and act with resolve. The journey through the Stoic decision-making framework has brought us far. You have paused to create space and perceive the situation objectively, stripping away initial biases. Step 1. You have consulted your inner compass, aligning potential actions with your core values and the cardinal virtues. Step 2. You have engaged your rational faculty, analyzing options and consequences with logic rather than fear. Step 3. And you have broadened your perspective, considering your duties and responsibilities to others within your community. Step 4. Deliberation, however thorough, must eventually culminate in a choice. Analysis paralysis, endlessly weighing options without committing, is antithetical to the practical nature of Stoicism. Having applied reason and virtue to the best of your ability, the time comes to make the decision. This is step 5. Choose with courage and act with resolve. Choosing with courage. The preceding steps, objective perception, value alignment, logical analysis, and consideration of duties, are designed to lead you to the most rational and virtuous path available. However, this path is not always the easiest, the most comfortable, or the most popular. It might involve confronting a difficult situation, disappointing someone, taking a calculated risk, or accepting a significant challenge. This is where the virtue of courage Andrea becomes paramount. Courage in the Stoic sense isn't the absence of fear. It's the judgment that something else, acting virtuously, upholding your principles, fulfilling your duty, is more important than fear. It's the willingness to select the path identified by reason and virtue, even when apprehension or discomfort arises. Choosing with courage means trusting the process you've undertaken, prioritizing long-term character over short-term comfort, being willing to stand by your principles even if faced with opposition or misunderstanding, making the call based on your best rational and ethical judgment, not on a desire to please everyone or avoid all potential difficulty. Acting with resolve. Once the choice is made, based on this careful, virtue-guided process, the second part of this step kicks in. Acting with resolve. This means committing to the chosen course of action and initiating the necessary steps. Remember the dichotomy of control. Your reasoned choice and your subsequent actions are firmly within the sphere of things up to us. Acting with resolve involves commitment, pouring your energy into executing the decision effectively. Focus, directing your attention towards the actions required rather than dwelling on paths not taken. Resisting vacillation. Avoiding excessive second-guessing based purely on anxiety or minor fluctuations in circumstance. Once a decision is made through a sound process, stick to it unless significant new information emerges that fundamentally undermines the original, rational, or ethical basis for the choice. Mere discomfort or impatience is not sufficient reason to abandon a well-considered path. This resolve isn't blind stubbornness. It's a confident commitment rooted in the thoroughness of the preceding steps. You act decisively because you have done the work to ensure the decision aligns with reason and virtue. Deliberation without action is sterile. It's the implementation of the choice that gives it meaning and impact in the world. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to get on with the tasks required of him as a human being and a leader. Choosing with courage and acting with resolve bridges the gap between internal deliberation and external reality. It transforms understanding and intention into tangible effort. It is the moment you take ownership of your reasoned judgment and put it into practice, fully embracing the part of the situation that is truly yours to control, your choice and your actions. This sets the stage for the final step, which deals with the consequences that unfold from these actions. Chapter 10. Step 6. Accept the outcome with equanimity, amor fati. You have navigated the Stoic decision-making framework. Pausing to perceive objectively, Step 1. Consulting your values, Step 2. Analyzing with logic, Step 3. Considering your duties, Step 4. And finally, choosing and acting with courage and resolve, Step 5. You have done everything within your power, everything up to us, to make the most rational, virtuous decision possible under pressure. Now comes the final, crucial step in maintaining your inner peace and resilience. Accept the outcome with equanimity. This step brings us full circle, back to the fundamental principle we began with in Chapter 1, the dichotomy of control. While your reasoned choice and diligent actions were within your power, the ultimate result, how things actually turn out, is subject to countless external factors beyond your influence. The project might still fail despite your best efforts. The relationship might still end despite your honest communication. The health issue might persist despite following medical advice diligently. To rail against these outcomes, to be consumed by regret, if only I had. Bitterness is not fair, or despair. It was all for nothing. Is, from a Stoic perspective, irrational. It's like shouting at the rain for falling. It expends precious mental energy fighting against reality, against that which is not up to us. Instead, the Stoics advocated for equanimity, a state of mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in difficult situations. This isn't about suppressing feelings of disappointment or sadness, which are natural initial reactions. Rather, it's about not letting these feelings dictate your overall state of mind or lead to destructive passions. It involves acknowledging the outcome without letting it shatter your inner peace, which is grounded in the knowledge that you acted virtuously. A powerful concept related to this acceptance is amor fati, a Latin phrase often associated with Friedrich Nietzsche, but deeply resonant with Stoic thought, meaning love of fate. It represents an active embrace of whatever happens, good or bad, not merely tolerating it, but accepting it as necessary and even desirable within the grand tapestry of existence, or, in Stoic terms, the rational order of the Logos. Marcus Aurelius expressed a similar sentiment. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Accepting the outcome with equanimity, perhaps even striving for amor fati, means recognizing the limits of your control. Reaffirm the dichotomy of control. You controlled the choice and the effort, not the result. Focusing on your response. While the outcome is external, your response to the outcome is internal and entirely up to you. Will you respond with bitterness or with a willingness to learn, with despair or with renewed determination to act virtuously in the next situation? Finding the opportunity for virtue. Even unwelcome outcomes present opportunities to practice virtue. Can you show courage in facing hardship, temperance in managing disappointment, justice in how you treat others affected by the outcome, wisdom in learning from the experience, learning without regret? Analyze the outcome objectively. Were there flaws in your reasoning, step 3, or perception, step 1, that you can learn from without succumbing to debilitating regret? Regret focuses on wishing the past were different, impossible. Learning focuses on improving future choices, possible. This final step closes the loop on the decision-making process. It protects your inner citadel from being breached by external events. By accepting outcomes with equanimity, you affirm that your success lies not in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself, in making rational, virtuous choices regardless of what fate delivers. This acceptance isn't passive resignation. It's the ultimate expression of rational strength and resilience, allowing you to face the next decision, whatever it may be, with a calm and steady mind. Chapter 11. High-Stakes Career Choices. Having established the Stoic mindset, Part 1, and detailed the 6-step decision-making framework, Part 2, we now enter the trenches. How does this ancient wisdom hold up against the specific pressures of modern life? We begin with one of the most common arenas for high-stakes choices: our careers. Workplaces are often cauldrons of pressure. Ambition clashes with ethics, deadlines loom, competition is fierce, and the opinions of superiors and colleagues can feel overwhelmingly important. Decisions about job offers, promotions, project directions, ethical breaches, or conflicts with coworkers can trigger significant anxiety. We worry about financial security, reputation, career trajectory, and letting down our teams or families. These external pressures can easily activate our passions: fear of failure, desire for status, anger at perceived slights, making rational, virtuous decision-making incredibly challenging. This is precisely where the Stoic framework provides invaluable structure and clarity. Let's explore its application through a common scenario. Case study: the tempting but troubling job offer. Imagine Sarah, a mid-level manager, receives a job offer from a prestigious competitor. The offer comes with a significant salary increase, a more senior title, and exciting responsibilities. However, during the interview process, she got subtle hints that the company culture might be cutthroat, potentially demanding ethically gray compromises to meet aggressive targets. Her current job is stable and ethically sound, with supportive colleagues, but offers slower growth and lower pay. She feels immense pressure. The lure of advancement and financial security versus her apprehension about the new environment and potential ethical conflicts. Her family could really use the extra income, adding another layer of complexity. How can Sarah apply the Stoic framework? Step 1. Pause and perceive objectively. Sarah resists the immediate emotional pull of the higher salary and title. She takes a breath and lists the facts neutrally. Offer received from Company X with Title Y and Salary Z. Stated responsibilities include A, B, C. Observe during interviews. Specific factual observations, for example. Interviewer emphasized whatever it takes attitude. Mentioned high employee turnover in the department. Current job, Title P, Salary Q, stable environment, supportive team, known ethical standards, slower advancement. Family financial situation. Specific facts, for example, need funds for X. Current income covers necessities but leaves little room for Y. Avoids. This is my only chance. They probably exaggerate the culture issues. My current boss will be angry if I leave. Step 2. Consult inner compass. Values. Principles. As Sarah reflects on her core virtues. Wisdom. What's the prudent long-term choice for her well-being and integrity? Is the short-term gain worth potential long-term ethical distress? What does she truly value in a work environment? Justice. What are the fair implications for both companies? Is she being honest with herself and them? Does the potential new role involve treating others unfairly? Courage. Does staying require the courage to forego immediate gain for peace of mind? Does leaving require the courage to step into an unknown, potentially difficult environment, which requires more moral courage? Temperance. Is the desire for higher salary and status becoming excessive, blinding her to potential downsides? Can she moderate this desire? Step 3. Analyze with logic, not fear. Sarah evaluates the options rationally. Option A, accept offer. Pros, controllable focus. Opportunity to develop new skills, potentially higher earning capacity. Preferred, indifferent. Cons, controllable focus. High probability of facing ethical dilemmas. Potential for high-stress environment. Impacting well-being. Risk of compromising principles. Option B. Decline offer. Pros, controllable focus. Maintain ethical peace of mind. Continue working in supportive environment. Uphold current responsibilities reliably. Cons, controllable focus. Slower career financial progression. Accepting less of a preferred indifferent. Potential feeling of missed opportunity, an impression to manage. Avoids, letting fear of missing out. Option B, or fear of ethical compromise. Option A, dominate without logical assessment of probabilities. Step 4, consider duties and responsibilities. To family, provide security favors option A financially, but also model integrity and manage stress. Potentially favors option B. To current employer team, fulfill current obligations, ensure smooth transition if leaving. Justice. To potential employer, be honest about decision as justice. To self, maintain integrity and mental health, primary Stoic duty. Step 5, choose with courage and act with resolve. After weighing these factors, guided by which path best upholds virtue, especially wisdom and justice regarding the ethical concerns, Sarah makes her choice. Let's say she decides the ethical risks and potential stress outweigh the financial benefits, aligning better with her long-term peace of mind and integrity. She chooses option B. She acts with resolve by politely and professionally declining the offer, clearly stating her reasons, if appropriate, perhaps focusing on cultural fit without being accusatory, and recommitting her focus to her current role. She resists second-guessing based on lingering desire for the higher salary. Step 6, accept the outcome with equanimity. Sarah accepts the consequences of her decision. She might occasionally feel twinge when thinking of the higher salary she passed up, but she reminds herself she made the most rational, virtuous choice based on the information available and her core principles. She focuses on performing well in her current role and finding satisfaction in acting with integrity. She accepts this outcome as the result of her reasoned choice, embracing it via amor fati. Common Stoic pitfalls in career decisions, chasing indifference, overvaluing salary, title, status, or reputation, preferred indifference, above virtue, the only good, fear of discomfort, avoiding necessary confrontations, difficult feedback, or challenging projects out of a desire for ease, hindering growth, and potentially compromising justice or courage. Emotional reactivity, letting office politics, criticism, or setbacks trigger anger, resentment, or despair, clouding judgment. Ignoring duties, making purely self-serving decisions without considering the impact on colleagues, the team, or the organization's ethical standing. By applying the Stoic framework, we can navigate the complex pressures of career choices with greater clarity, integrity, and resilience. It helps us anchor our decisions not in the shifting winds of external validation or fear, but in the bedrock of our own reasoned judgment and commitment to virtue. Chapter 12. Navigating Personal Relationships. Beyond the professional sphere, some of our most challenging and emotionally charged decisions arise within our personal relationships. Interactions with family, friends, and romantic partners are deeply intertwined with our sense of identity, belonging, and emotional well-being. Disagreements, differing expectations, betrayals, or simply the need to set boundaries can create intense pressure, often activating powerful passions like anger, fear of abandonment, guilt, or possessiveness. These emotional currents make objective, rational decision-making particularly difficult. We might avoid necessary conversations out of fear of conflict, make compromises that violate our principles out of a desire to please, or react with anger when feeling hurt, escalating the situation. Stoicism, however, offers a powerful toolkit for navigating these sensitive areas with greater wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Case study. The difficult conversation with a close friend. Consider Mark, whose close friend, David, frequently cancels plans at the last minute, often leaving Mark inconvenienced and feeling undervalued. Mark values the friendship, but finds this pattern increasingly frustrating and disrespectful. He feels pressure to address it, but fears damaging the friendship or causing an awkward confrontation. He's oscillated between saying nothing and growing resentful, and making passive-aggressive comments. How can Mark apply the Stoic framework to decide how to handle this? Step 1. Pause and perceive objectively. Mark steps back from his immediate frustration. David is so disrespectful. He doesn't care about my time. He pauses and lists the facts. David has canceled plans with less than 2 hours' notice on list-specific recent instances. For example, 3 out of the last 5 planned meetups. On these occasions, Mark had already listed specific inconveniences, for example, rearranged work schedule, travel to the location. Mark experiences feelings of frustration and feels his time is not being respected. David's stated reasons were, list reasons given, if any. The friendship has positive aspects, list specific shared history, support, enjoyment. Avoids. Assuming David's motives, he does this deliberately. Catastrophizing. This will ruin the friendship. Labeling David, he's flaky, selfish. Step 2. Consult inner compass, values, principles. Mark reflects on virtue, wisdom. What is the most prudent way to address this to foster understanding and potentially improve the situation. What does a healthy friendship look like? Justice. What is fair to both Mark, having his time respected, and David, being approached honestly and respectfully? What does honesty require here? What are the duties of friendship? Courage. Does addressing this directly require moral courage to face potential discomfort or conflict for the sake of honesty and the relationship's health? Is avoiding the conversation driven by fear? Temperance. Can Mark manage his frustration and approach the conversation calmly and moderately without excessive anger or accusation? Step 3. Analyze with logic, not fear. Mark considers his options rationally. Option A. Direct, calm conversation. Pros: controllable focus. Upholds honesty, justice. Gives David a chance to understand Mark's perspective. Potential to resolve the issue. Exercises courage. Cons: controllable focus. Requires facing discomfort, courage, potential for awkwardness, or defensive reaction from David. Outcome not fully controllable. Option B. Continue saying nothing. Pros: controllable focus. Avoids immediate confrontation/discomfort. Cons: controllable focus. Likely leads to continued frustration and resentment. Harming Mark's peace of mind. Fails to address the issue honestly. Lacks justice, courage. Potentially damages friendship long-term through unspoken issues. Option C. Passive-aggressive comments. Pros: controllable focus. Allows venting frustration indirectly. Poor temperance. Cons: controllable focus. Lacks honesty and directness, justice, courage. Unlikely to resolve the issue, likely to create confusion or defensiveness, damages trust. Avoids letting fear of David's reaction, option A, or fear of losing the friendship entirely dominate the analysis. Focuses on the controllable action of communicating honestly and respectfully. Step 4. Consider duties and responsibilities. To David, as a friend. Duty to be honest and address issues that harm the relationship constructively. Justice. To self. Duty to uphold self-respect. Manage own emotional well-being and act with integrity. Wisdom, temperance. To the friendship. Duty to try and maintain its health through honest communication. Step 5. Choose with courage and act with resolve. The analysis clearly points towards option A as the most virtuous path. Mark chooses to have a direct, calm conversation. He acts with resolve by planning how to approach it. For example, choosing a private time, using I statements, focusing on his feelings and the impact of the actions, not accusations about David's character, and then initiating the conversation, despite his apprehension. Step 6. Accept the outcome with equanimity. Mark has the conversation. David might react defensively, apologize sincerely, or offer an explanation Mark hadn't considered. Regardless of David's reaction or whether his behavior changes immediately, outcome's not fully up to Mark. Mark accepts it. He knows he acted with courage, justice, and temperance based on a rational assessment. He fulfilled his duty to himself and the friendship by communicating honestly. He can maintain his inner peace knowing he handled his part virtuously. If the pattern continues unchanged despite the conversation, he may need to re-evaluate the friendship itself using the same framework, accepting the reality of the situation. Common Stoic pitfalls in relationships. Trying to control others. Getting upset because partners, friends, or family don't act or feel as we wish they would. Violating the dichotomy of control. Emotional reasoning. Making decisions based solely on feelings. I feel guilty, so I must give in. I feel angry, so they must be wrong, rather than objective analysis and principles. Avoiding difficult truths. Lacking the courage to address problems honestly or set necessary boundaries out of fear of conflict or disapproval. Unrealistic expectations. Demanding perfection from others or expecting relationships to always be easy and free of conflict, leading to chronic disappointment. Neglecting justice. Acting unfairly, dishonestly, or failing to consider the other person's perspective and needs. Applying Stoic principles in relationships fosters clearer communication, healthier boundaries, greater resilience to disappointment, and interactions based on mutual respect and understanding rather than emotional reactivity or attempts to control the uncontrollable. Chapter 13. Financial pressure and uncertainty. Few areas of modern life generate as much pressure and anxiety as personal finances. Decisions about investments, debt management, budgeting, or responding to unexpected economic downturns can feel overwhelming. Money is deeply connected to our sense of security, status, and future possibilities. Consequently, financial decisions are often fertile ground for the passions the Stoics warned against: fear of loss, poverty, instability, greed, desire for excessive wealth or possessions, and anxiety about an uncertain future. When gripped by these emotions, our judgment suffers. Fear can lead to panic selling during market dips or paralysis in making necessary investment choices. Greed can drive reckless speculation or unethical behavior. Anxiety can cloud our ability to plan rationally. Stoicism provides essential tools to navigate these pressures by reminding us of fundamental truths. Wealth is a preferred indifferent, not an intrinsic good. Our security ultimately lies in our character, not our bank balance. And our focus should be on making wise and virtuous choices with the resources we have, rather than agonizing over what we cannot control, like market fluctuations or global economic trends. Case study: responding to sudden market volatility. Consider Alex, who has diligently saved and invested for retirement over many years. Suddenly, the stock market experiences a sharp, unexpected downturn, and the value of Alex's portfolio drops significantly in a short period. News outlets are filled with panicked headlines. Alex feels intense fear watching hard-earned savings diminish and feels pressure to do something immediately, perhaps sell everything to cut losses or try to time the market by buying aggressively. How can Alex apply the Stoic framework? Step 1. Pause and perceive objectively. Alex resists the urge to immediately check the portfolio obsessively or react to alarming news headlines. Alex pauses and notes the facts. The overall market index has dropped by X% over Y period. Alex's portfolio value has decreased by Z amount and percentage. Alex's long-term financial goals remain state goals, for example, retirement in 15 years. Alex's investment strategy was based on state original strategy, for example, long-term growth, diversification. Current income and essential expenses are state facts. The drop does not impact immediate needs. Avoids "I'm ruined. The entire system is collapsing. I have to sell now before it goes to zero." This expert on TV says buy, sell. Step 2. Consult inner compass, values, and principles. Alex reflects on virtue, wisdom. What is the prudent, rational response based on long-term strategy, not short-term panic? Does the original investment thesis still hold? Avoid herd mentality. Justice. Are there responsibilities to dependents that require careful consideration? Avoid actions driven purely by personal fear that might jeopardize long-term family security. Courage. Does sticking to a sound long-term strategy require courage in the face of market fear and volatility? Does making a reasoned change require courage? Temperance. Can Alex moderate the fear and anxiety, avoid impulsive actions, panic selling or greedy buying, maintain discipline according to the pre-established plan? Step 3. Analyze with logic, not fear. Alex evaluates options rationally, separating emotion from analysis. Option A. Sell everything. Pros: controllable focus. Stops further potential losses in the immediate term, provides emotional relief from fear. Cons: controllable focus. Locks in current losses, deviates from long-term strategy, makes market timing assumptions, trying to control the uncontrollable, potentially misses future recovery, driven primarily by fear. Option B. Stick to original plan, rebounds. Pros: controllable focus. Aligns with long-term goals, an original rational strategy, wisdom, temperance. Avoids emotional decision-making, potentially benefits from lower prices if rebalancing. Cons: controllable focus. Requires tolerating current paper losses and uncertainty, courage. Portfolio might drop further in the short term, outcome not controllable. Option C. Aggressively buy more. Pros: controllable focus. Potential to capitalize on lower prices if market recovers. Cons: controllable focus. Could be driven by greed or attempt to recoup losses quickly. Poor temperance. Increases risk if market continues to fall. Deviates from planned asset allocation. Avoids. Letting fear dictate selling, option A, or greed. Dictate excessive buying, option C. Focuses on the logic of the long-term strategy, option B, unless fundamental reasons for that strategy have changed. Step 4. Consider duties and responsibilities. To future self-dependence. Duty to act prudently for long-term financial health, avoiding impulsive decisions that jeopardize retirement or family security. 2. Financial principles. Duty to adhere to the rational investment plan established during calmer times, unless there's a reasoned basis for change. Step 5. Choose with courage and act with resolve. Assuming Alex's long-term goals and the rationale for the original strategy haven't fundamentally changed, the analysis likely points towards option B. Alex chooses with courage to stick to the plan, perhaps rebalancing according to preset rules, despite the fear induced by market noise. Alex acts with resolve by not panic selling, by limiting exposure to sensationalist financial news, and by focusing on controllable factors like maintaining savings rate. Step 6. Accept the outcome with equanimity. Alex accepts that the market will fluctuate, it's outside direct control. Whether the portfolio recovers quickly or experiences further declines in the short term, Alex maintains inner peace by knowing the decision was made rationally and virtuously, aligned with a long-term plan, not out of panic. Alex focuses on what is controllable. Continued diligence in saving, adherence to the plan, and managing emotional responses to financial news amor fati applied to market cycles. Common Stoic pitfalls in financial decisions. Attachment to externals, treating wealth as a true good and poverty as a true evil, leading to excessive fear or greed. Ignoring the dichotomy of control. Trying to predict or control market movements, leading to frustration and poor timing. Lack of temperance. Making impulsive buying decisions based on desire or panic, selling based on fear. Insufficient wisdom. Failing to educate oneself adequately about financial principles or creating a rational long-term plan. Neglecting courage. Being too fearful to invest appropriately for long-term goals or too afraid to stick to a plan during downturns. By applying Stoic principles, we can approach financial decisions with greater rationality, discipline, and emotional resilience. We learn to view money as a tool to be managed wisely and virtuously, rather than a source of ultimate security or a measure of our self-worth, allowing us to navigate pressure and uncertainty with a steadier hand. Chapter 14. facing health crises and emergencies. Perhaps no situation confronts us more directly with the limits of our control and the fragility of life than a health crisis or sudden emergency. Whether facing a serious diagnosis ourselves, caring for a sick loved one, or making critical decisions under urgent circumstances, the pressure can be immense. Fear for our own mortality or the well-being of others, grief over loss of health or function, and anxiety about an uncertain future can easily overwhelm our capacity for rational thought. Decisions made during these times about treatments, end-of-life care, or emergency responses are often profound and irreversible. The stakes feel impossibly high, making objective analysis incredibly difficult. Yet it is precisely in these moments that the Stoic framework offers a vital anchor, helping us navigate turbulent emotions and complex choices with clarity, courage, and compassion. Stoicism reminds us that while health itself is a preferred indifferent, we naturally prefer it, but it's not essential for virtue. How we respond to health challenges is entirely within our control and offers profound opportunities to exercise virtue. Case study: receiving a serious diagnosis. Imagine Ben, a relatively healthy individual, receives an unexpected diagnosis of a serious chronic illness. The doctor outlines treatment options, potential side effects, lifestyle changes, and the long-term prognosis, which includes significant uncertainty. Ben is flooded with fear, anger, why me, and grief for the future he had envisioned. He feels pressure to quickly decide on a treatment path while grappling with the emotional shock. How can Ben apply the Stoic framework? Step 1. Pause and perceive objectively. Ben resists the immediate spiral into catastrophic thinking. My life is over. He takes time to breathe and process the initial shock. He focuses on the objective facts presented by the doctor. Diagnosis: specific illness name. Current status: specific symptoms or test results. Proposed treatment option: A. Details, known success rates, common side effects. Proposed treatment. Option B. Details, known success rates, common side effects. Prognosis: doctor's assessment of likely progression, including uncertainties. Required lifestyle changes. Specific recommendations. Avoids emotional labels. This is a death sentence. Unfounded assumptions. Treatment will definitely fail, succeed. Blaming himself or others. Step 2. Consult inner compass. Values/principles. Ben reflects on virtue in the context of his health. Wisdom. What is the most prudent course based on available medical evidence? Seek understanding of the illness and treatments. Distinguish between realistic hope and denial. Justice. What are his responsibilities to himself, seeking appropriate care, and potentially to his family, communicating honestly, considering their support? Courage. Can he face the reality of the diagnosis and the challenges of treatment with fortitude? Can he make difficult choices about side effects versus potential benefits? Can he endure discomfort or uncertainty? Temperance. Can he moderate his fear and grief, avoid impulsive decisions driven by panic, maintain discipline with necessary lifestyle changes or treatment regimen, accept limitations without despair? Step 3, analyze with logic, not fear. Ben evaluates the treatment options rationally, consulting medical professionals and reliable sources. Option A, pros, controllable focus, potential for a specific positive outcome, aligns with specific medical recommendation. Cons, controllable focus, known side effects, list specific ones, requires specific action/commitments from Ben. Option B, pros, controllable focus, potential for different positive outcome or fewer side effects, aligns with different medical perspective or Ben's priorities. Cons, controllable focus, known risks, list specific ones, less data available, requires different actions, commitments. Avoids. Letting fear of side effects paralyze him from choosing any treatment, or letting unrealistic hope dictate a choice against medical advice. Focuses on understanding the likely trade-offs based on evidence. Step 4. Consider duties and responsibilities. To self. Duty to care for his health responsibly, make informed choices and manage his condition to the best of his ability. To loved ones. Duty to communicate openly as appropriate. Consider their support roles and potentially make decisions that factor in their well-being. For example, ability to continue working or providing. Step 5. Choose with courage and act with resolve. Based on the medical evidence, his values, perhaps prioritizing quality of life over longevity, or vice versa, and rational analysis, Ben chooses a treatment path, say, Option A. He acts with resolve by committing to the treatment plan, attending appointments, making necessary lifestyle changes, and actively participating in his care, facing the challenges with courage. Step 6. Accept the outcome with equanimity. Amor fati. Ben accepts that the ultimate course of the illness and the success of the treatment are not entirely within his control. He focuses on managing his response, adhering to his chosen path virtuously, and finding meaning and purpose despite the illness. He accepts the reality of his condition without letting it define his entire existence or destroy his inner peace. He embraces his fate, including the illness, as part of his life journey, focusing on living well with it. Common Stoic pitfalls in health crises. Rebelling against reality, wasting energy on why me, or denying the diagnosis rather than focusing on a constructive response. Catastrophizing. Letting fear create worst-case scenarios that paralyze rational decision-making about treatment or care. Loss of agency. Feeling completely powerless and neglecting the aspects that are controllable. mindset, adherence to treatment, lifestyle choices, seeking support. Over-attachment to health, viewing illness as an absolute evil rather than a challenging indifferent, leading to excessive despair or frantic pursuit of any cure regardless of cost or quality of life. Neglecting virtue, making decisions based purely on fear of death or pain, potentially compromising dignity, honesty with self or others, or courage. Facing health crises and emergencies tests our resilience like little else. Stoicism doesn't promise a cure or a life free from pain, but it offers a powerful framework for maintaining our dignity, rationality, and inner peace amidst the storm. It empowers us to focus on our virtuous response, which always remains within our control, regardless of what happens to our physical bodies. Chapter 15. When others depend on your decision. Many of the toughest decisions we face carry weight beyond our own personal consequences. They directly impact the lives and well-being of others who depend on us. This is the realm of leadership, parenthood, mentorship, and teamwork. Whether you're a manager responsible for your team's success and livelihoods, a parent guiding your children's future, or a team member whose choices affect the group's outcome, the pressure intensifies when the stakes involve more than just yourself. The weight of this responsibility can be immense. Fear of letting others down, anxiety about making the wrong call for the group, and the difficulty of balancing individual needs against the common good can cloud judgment. Ego, the desire for approval, or the avoidance of conflict can lead to decisions that prioritize the leader's comfort over the group's best interests. Stoicism, with its emphasis on justice, duty, and rational analysis, provides a crucial framework for navigating these complex situations with integrity and clarity. The concept of oikeiosis, Chapter 8, our natural affinity and obligation extending outwards, becomes central here. Case study: the manager's difficult layoff decision. Imagine David, a department manager, who has just been instructed by senior leadership to reduce his team's headcount by one person due to budget cuts. David deeply values his team members, knows their personal circumstances, and understands the significant impact this decision will have on whomever is chosen, as well as on the morale of those remaining. He feels the immense pressure, loyalty conflicts, and dread about inflicting hardship. How can David apply the Stoic framework? Step 1. Pause and perceive objectively. David resists the immediate emotional turmoil, guilt, anxiety, perhaps anger at leadership. He pauses to separate facts from feelings. Fact: mandate received to reduce headcount by one from the department. Fact: budget cuts are the stated reason. External factor: largely outside David's control. Fact: Team consists of list members and roles objectively. Fact. Performance data, skill sets, role criticality for each member, gather objective data. Fact. Potential impact on team morale and workload distribution. Avoids. This is unfair. Leadership doesn't care. I can't possibly do this. Focusing on his own discomfort rather than the necessary task. Step 2. Consult inner compass, values, principles. David grounds himself in virtue, wisdom. What are the most objective, rational criteria for making this decision, given the constraints? How can the process be handled prudently and with foresight regarding the team's future needs? Justice. What is the fairest possible process, even within an inherently difficult situation? How can criteria be applied consistently? How can the affected individual be treated with dignity and respect? What are the duties to the company and the employees? Courage. Can David face this unpleasant task directly and make the necessary decision based on principle, not favoritism or avoidance? Can he handle the difficult conversations required? Temperance. Can David manage his own distress and potential biases, for example, personal friendships? Can he deliver the news calmly and professionally? Step 3. Analyze with logic, not fear. David establishes objective criteria aligned with wisdom and justice before evaluating individuals. Criteria might include documented performance, essential skills for future projects, redundancy of role, attendance records, etc. He systematically applies these criteria to each team member, documenting the rationale. He analyzes the impact of each potential departure on the remaining team's ability to function. Avoids making the decision based on who he personally likes most, least, who might complain the loudest, or who he fears confronting. Focuses on the established fair criteria. Step 4. Consider duties and responsibilities. This step is paramount here. To the company, duty to implement the directive responsibly and ensure the department remains functional. To all team members, duty to apply fair criteria. Justice. Maintain confidentiality during deliberation and support the remaining team through the transition. To the affected individual, duty to communicate the decision respectfully and privately, provide necessary information, severance, resources, and act with compassion within professional bounds. Justice, temperance. Step 5. Choose with courage and act with resolve. Based on the objective analysis against fair criteria, David identifies the individual whose departure aligns most closely with the necessary business decision. He chooses with courage, accepting the difficulty of the task. He acts with resolve by scheduling the necessary conversations, preparing clear communication, and executing the decision professionally and compassionately, adhering to HR guidelines. Step 6. accept the outcome with equanimity. David accepts the unfortunate reality of the situation and its consequences. Team morale may dip. The departing employee will face hardship, outcomes influenced by factors beyond David's full control. David focuses on his response, supporting the remaining team, managing his own feelings without letting them compromise his duties, and knowing he followed the most virtuous process possible under difficult constraints. He doesn't seek refuge in blaming leadership entirely, but accepts his role in executing a necessary, albeit painful decision, amor fati applied to difficult leadership responsibilities. Common Stoic pitfalls. When others depend on you, avoiding tough decisions. Lacking the courage to make necessary but unpopular choices, leading to prolonged uncertainty or unfairness. Prioritizing popularity over principle. Making decisions based on wanting to be liked rather than on what is rational and just for the group. Lack of transparency. False justice. Failing to communicate clearly about the reasons behind decisions where appropriate. Breeding mistrust. Emotional decision-making. Letting personal feelings, guilt, anger, favoritism, override objective analysis and fair process. Micromanagement, fear-based control. Trying to over-control situations or people due to anxiety about outcomes, stifling autonomy and trust. Leading or being responsible for others inevitably involves pressure and difficult choices. The Stoic framework doesn't eliminate the difficulty, but it provides a moral and rational compass. By focusing on objective perception, virtue, especially justice, logical analysis, duty, courageous action, and acceptance, we can make decisions that are not only effective, but also uphold our integrity and respect the humanity of those who depend on us. Chapter 16. Daily Practices for Decision Fitness. We have explored the Stoic mindset, dissected the 6-step decision-making framework, and seen it applied to challenging real-world scenarios. But like physical fitness, the ability to make sound, virtuous decisions under pressure isn't achieved through theoretical knowledge alone. It requires consistent practice. Making rational, principled choices when the stakes are high is a skill, and like any skill, it strengthens with regular exercise and weakens with neglect. Part 4 of this book focuses on cultivating this lifelong decision fitness. The goal isn't to wait for the next crisis to try out these Stoic principles. Instead, it's about weaving them into the fabric of your daily life, building the mental and emotional resilience needed before the pressure hits. By consistently engaging in specific practices, you train your mind to perceive objectively, reason clearly, align with virtue, manage emotions, and accept outcomes, making the application of the 6-step framework more natural and effective when it truly counts. Think of these practices as the daily training regimen for your inner citadel. Stoic journaling, philosophical diary, Perhaps the most powerful practice, exemplified by Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. This isn't just recording events. It's a private space for self-reflection and applying Stoic principles. Morning preparation. Set intentions for the day. Remind yourself of the dichotomy of control. Contemplate the virtues you wish to embody. Anticipate potential challenges. Premeditatio malorum. And plan virtuous responses. Consider Marcus's practice of reminding himself he would encounter interfering, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and unsocial people, but that they act out of ignorance of true good and evil, and his duty is to work with them justly. Evening review. Reflect on the day. Where did you act in accordance with your principles? Where did you fall short? Analyze specific situations. Did you pause before reacting? Were your judgments accurate? Did you manage your emotions effectively? Did you fulfill your duties? Importantly, conduct this review with self-compassion, focusing on learning, not self-flagellation. Epictetus recommended asking, "What bad habit did I curb today? What virtue did I acquire? In what way am I better?" Mindful observation, objective perception practice. Throughout the day, practice observing events and your reactions without immediate judgment. Notice your internal monologue. When you feel a strong emotion arise, frustration in traffic, annoyance at a colleague, pause and try to describe the trigger factually before analyzing your judgment about it. This trains the muscle needed for step 1 of the framework. Contemplating the virtues. Regularly reflect on the 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, temperance. How do they apply to your current roles in upcoming situations? Look for opportunities, however small, to actively practice them. Choosing patience over irritation, honesty over a white lie, tackling a slightly uncomfortable task. These small acts build character strength. Practicing gratitude and acceptance. Consciously acknowledge things you are grateful for, including challenges that offer opportunities for growth. Practice accepting minor annoyances and setbacks with equanimity, reminding yourself they are indifference. This builds resilience for handling larger difficulties and reinforces step 6, accepting outcomes. Reading the Stoics. Spend even just 10-15 minutes daily. Reading primary texts, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, or reliable modern interpretations. This keeps the principles fresh in your mind, offers new insights, and provides constant inspiration and guidance. It's like consulting with mentors across millennia. These practices aren't meant to be burdensome additions to your schedule. They are tools for integrating Stoic philosophy into your lived experience. Consistency is far more important than intensity. Even a few minutes of focused reflection each morning and evening can, over time, profoundly reshape your default responses to pressure. They build the mental fortitude, emotional regulation, and ethical clarity that underpin effective Stoic decision-making, ensuring you are better prepared when the inevitable challenges arise. Chapter 17. Reviewing Your Decisions. The Stoic Way. Consistent daily practice, as outlined in the previous chapter, builds the foundation for Stoic decision fitness. However, focused reflection on specific past decisions provides another crucial layer of learning and refinement. Just as athletes review game footage to understand what worked and what didn't, we can review our significant choices to deepen our understanding and improve our application of Stoic principles. This isn't about dwelling on the past with regret, but about extracting valuable lessons for the future, a process conducted the Stoic way. Reviewing decisions, the Stoic way differs significantly from common tendencies like self-blame, endless second-guessing, or focusing solely on whether the outcome was desirable. Instead, it centers on evaluating the process through the lens of reason and virtue, while maintaining equanimity about the outcome itself. Key elements of a Stoic decision. Review, objective recall, revisit step 1. Begin by reconstructing the decision-making process as objectively as possible. What was the situation? What information did you have at the time? What were the pressures? Try to recall your initial perception and how you framed the problem. Did you successfully pause and perceive objectively, or were you immediately caught up in emotional interpretations? Analyze the application of the framework. Go through the steps you took or perhaps skipped. Values. Step 2. Did you consciously consult your core principles and virtues? Was the chosen action truly aligned with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance as you understood them then? Logic. Step 3. How thorough was your analysis? Did fear or other passions unduly influence your assessment of options and consequences? Did you fall prey to logical fallacies or catastrophic thinking? Duties. Step 4. Did you adequately consider your responsibilities to others? Was your understanding of oikaiosis applied appropriately? Choice action. Step 5. Was the final choice made courageously based on the preceding steps? Did you act with resolve, or did vacillation undermine your efforts? Focus on process, not just outcome. Revisit step 6. Dichotomy of control. This is critical. The outcome, being largely outside your control, is not the primary measure of a good decision in Stoicism. A virtuously made decision can still lead to an unfavorable outcome, and a poorly reasoned or unethical choice might luckily turn out well. Evaluate the quality of your judgments and actions, the things up to you. Did you act in accordance with reason and virtue to the best of your ability, given what you knew then? Identify patterns and learning opportunities. Look for recurring themes. Do you consistently struggle with a particular step? For example, managing fear during analysis, acting courageously? Do certain types of situations trigger specific emotional reactions or faulty judgments? Identifying these patterns allows for targeted practice and improvement using the daily techniques from Chapter 16. Practice self-compassion, temperance justice towards self. The goal is learning, not self-flagellation. Approach the review with the same fairness and understanding you would offer a friend. Acknowledge mistakes as errors in judgment to be corrected, not as signs of inherent failure. Remember Seneca's advice that we are all works in progress. Let us bear with magnanimity whatever happens to us by the law of nature. It is a great consolation that it is together with the universe that we are swept along. Apply this magnanimity to your past self. Extract actionable insights. What specific adjustments can you make going forward? Perhaps you need to be more diligent in pausing. Step 1. More explicit in defining criteria. Step 3. Or more intentional in practicing courage. Step 5. Turn insights into concrete intentions for future decisions. Conducting these reviews periodically, perhaps weekly for smaller decisions, or monthly, quarterly for larger ones, often integrated into the Stoic journaling practice, transforms past experiences from potential sources of regret into valuable fuel for future growth. It reinforces the lessons of Stoicism, refines your application of the framework, and accelerates your journey towards becoming a more rational, resilient, and virtuous decision maker. Chapter 18. Building your inner citadel. Brick by brick. We've journeyed through the core tenets of Stoic philosophy, dissected a practical framework for decision-making under pressure, explored its application in various life domains, and examined practices for ongoing cultivation and review. As we reach the conclusion of this guide, it's essential to emphasize perhaps the most encouraging aspect of Stoicism, its cumulative power. Building the inner citadel that Marcus Aurelius spoke of, that fortress of reason, virtue, and resilience within you, is not the result of a single insight or a dramatic overnight transformation. It is built slowly, deliberately, brick by brick, through consistent daily effort. Each time you pause before reacting, step 1. Consult your values, step 2. Apply logic over fear, step 3. Consider your duties, step 4. Act with courage, step 5. And accept outcomes with equanimity. Step 6. However imperfectly, you are laying another brick. Each morning reflection, each evening review. Chapter 16. Each conscious attempt to perceive objectively or manage a rising passion, each decision review conducted with honesty and self-compassion. Chapter 17. These are the acts of mortar and trowel strengthening the walls. The cumulative effect. Initially, applying these principles might feel awkward, effortful, even unnatural. You might frequently catch yourself falling back into old habits of reactivity, fear-based thinking, or attachment to externals. This is normal. The path of the Prakopton, the Stoic term for one who is making progress, is gradual. But with persistent practice, reactivity lessens. The space between stimulus and response, step 1, naturally widens. You become less likely to be immediately hijacked by anger, fear, or desire. Clarity increases. Your ability to perceive situations objectively, step 1, and analyze them logically, step 3, sharpens. The fog of emotional reasoning begins to lift more readily. Values solidify. Your connection to your core principles, step 2, becomes stronger and more intuitive. Aligning actions with virtue feels less like consulting a checklist and more like following an internal compass. Resilience grows. Setbacks and unfavorable outcomes, step 6, while perhaps still disappointing, lose their power to destabilize your inner peace. You develop greater equanimity and trust in your ability to handle whatever life throws your way. Character strengthens. The consistent choice to act with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance shapes who you are. Virtue becomes less of an abstract goal and more of an ingrained disposition. You are, quite literally, rewiring your habitual responses and building durable character strength. The inner citadel becomes a place of genuine refuge, not because it shields you from external difficulties, but because it equips you with the internal resources to face them wisely and virtuously. Embracing the journey. Becoming a Stoic sage, a hypothetical ideal of perfect virtue and rationality, is not the realistic goal for most. The true aim is progress, not perfection. It's about consistently striving to live more rationally, more virtuously, more resiliently than you did yesterday. The pressures of modern life aren't likely to disappear. Tough decisions will continue to arise. But by committing to the ongoing practice of Stoicism, brick by brick, you build an inner fortitude that allows you to meet these challenges not with dread or overwhelm, but with clarity, courage, and a calm confidence in your ability to navigate them well. You become less a ship tossed helplessly by the waves of circumstance and more a skilled captain, using reason and virtue to steer your course regardless of the weather. This deliberate, lifelong construction of your inner citadel is the heart of living a truly Stoic life. Conclusion: living a deliberate life. We began this journey by acknowledging the intense pressures of modern life and the often clouded judgment that results. Faced with relentless demands for decisions big and small, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, anxious, and reactive. We sought an anchor, a reliable method for navigating these challenges, not just effectively, but with wisdom and integrity. We found it in the timeless, practical philosophy of Stoicism. Throughout this guide, we've explored the core principles that allowed ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca to face war, exile, political intrigue, and the simple challenges of daily life with remarkable resilience and clarity. The dichotomy of control. Understanding the crucial difference between what is up to us, our judgments, intentions, actions, and what is not, externals, outcomes, focusing our energy solely on the former. Reason as our guide. Employing our innate rational faculty to analyze situations objectively, filter emotional reactions, and make sound judgments. Virtue as the sole good. Recognizing that true human flourishing, eudaimonia, comes not from external circumstances, but from cultivating wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance within ourselves. Taming the passions. Managing destructive emotions like excessive fear, anger, and desire by identifying and correcting the faulty judgments that fuel them. We translated these foundational ideas into a practical, 6-step framework designed specifically for making tough decisions under pressure. Pause and perceive objectively. Creating space and seeing reality clearly without emotional distortion. Consult your inner compass, aligning options with core values and Stoic virtues. Analyze with logic, not fear. Evaluating paths based on reason and probability, not anxiety. Consider duties and responsibilities, recognizing our interconnectedness and obligations to others. Oikiosis, choose with courage and act with resolve, making the principled choice and committing to action. Accept the outcome with equanimity, embracing whatever happens. Amor fati, while focusing on our virtuous response. We saw this framework applied to diverse high-pressure scenarios, from career dilemmas and relationship conflicts to financial uncertainty and health crises, demonstrating its versatility and power. Finally, we emphasized that becoming a more stoic decision-maker isn't a one-time fix, but a lifelong practice, cultivated through daily reflection, consistent effort, and the courageous review of our choices, building our inner citadel brick by brick. The path outlined here isn't about achieving a life free from difficulty or external pressure. Challenges are inevitable. They are part of the human condition. Instead, Stoicism offers the tools to transform our relationship to those challenges. It empowers us to meet pressure not with panic or reactivity, but with considered calm. It guides us to make choices rooted not in fleeting emotions or external validation, but in enduring principles and rational thought. Living a deliberate life in the Stoic sense means consciously choosing our responses, aligning our actions with our deepest values, and accepting the unfolding of fate with grace and resilience. It means understanding that true strength lies not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering the world within us. Embrace the challenges you face, not as burdens, but as opportunities. Opportunities to practice courage, to exercise reason, to act justly, to live virtuously. The journey towards becoming a more rational, resilient, and deliberate decision-maker is ongoing, but it is a journey that promises not just better choices, but a more meaningful and fulfilling life.